Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Just 1 week closer to before we start the regular season on our Thursday evening for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Tonight, it's not official racing for points, but it is important racing. It's time for the drivers to set up to run for qualifying day for the Group 6 200 to run next week, where the drivers will have over 80 laps to put down some great racing action. But tonight, it's just qualifying. It's the qualifying for 5 minutes to put down their fastest time to set the front row for next week's race. And then two incredible races expected here this evening. It's the two duels to set up both the even and the odd rows. Those two duels going to be 30 laps each, and they're all set here at Daytona. We're proud to give you all the coverage again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer, and joining me up in the booth for this season, it's going to be Zach Hall. Zach, we got a little bit of a preview last week of the Clash, as well as a preview of the fundraiser race of their Daytona 300 a few weeks ago. But tonight, it's now becoming a little bit more official, a little bit more present. It's the beginning of a new season.
It is, Sam. This is going to be super fun to watch, man. The beginning of this new season blossom right in front of our own eyes. And yeah, we definitely got a good preview last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds, man. That was super fun to watch. You know, first time really we've done an open setup league, and we got to see definitely some interesting things when it came to that, I feel like. And I think tonight here at Daytona, we're going to get to see who brought what to the racetrack and, you know, who really prepared for this race. So it's going to be fun. I mean, qualifying is so important. We always talk about Daytona 500 qualifying because that front two positions in that front row get locked in. We'll see who's brought that special speed here to Daytona. You know, I'm sure a lot of these guys have been wanting that pole position just to show who put in all the hard work during the all-season.
I mean, also with tonight, you know, one of those things where you never know what to find out. Qualifying for some is such an important and impactful, you know, setting for yourself. You want to start up front for some. Others, they'll try to qualify to the back as much as possible. It's going to be interesting to see how those drivers want to pick and choose their mentality to set up for next week's race. But tonight's going to be a good one. The drivers still have plenty of time in practice before qualifying, so let's go down the trackside and take a look at what the practice scenario is like for some of these drivers, because we've got some that are practicing drafting, others have been trying to practice qualifying lap times by themselves, but they're all here at Daytona. 2.5 miles is the distance. And this is crazy to look back, Zach. I was looking at the stats of this series. Again, this is our first season covering the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. And this is only the second time in over their 7 seasons that this series is having Daytona as their opening race. Well, it's wild to say that, but most leagues, Daytona is the starter of every season. This is only the second time. The other time that this happened was all the way back in that of 22 in their first season. Crazy to think that it's been almost 2 years since they've had Daytona as an opener.
That is wild to think. You know, most of the time, especially around this time of the year, here being February, you get a lot of Daytona races when it comes to league racing. And it seems like tonight, you know, we're going to get back to that action here at Doghouse. And it's going to be fun, Sam. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to see who's brung what they have. And like you said, also the different mentalities of which driver is going to go out there for the bragging rights. Because I think that's kind of what the pole position is at like a place like a super speedway like this. You know, it's kind of just bragging rights more or less than anything, because we know how easy it is to go from front to the back of the field. So it's going to be fun to just watch how that works out, and also see a little preview of what we may see going into next week.
And watch out and see who's got the best setup. That's right, setups now matter. Here on Thursday nights, the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series is one of the only races that we are covering that has an open setup situation for these drivers. So the drivers come in, bring in their own setups that they decide to use. And Zach, that's the fun thing about setups, is you have your own qualifying setup and racing setup. So we get to see what racing trim and qualifying trim these drivers have been working on all throughout the off season.
That's exactly right, Sam. It's going to be completely different. If you run your race setup in qualifying, you're not going to qualify that well, in my opinion. And what that comes down to mostly out there, folks, is the higher speeds in the drafting that we produce when we get multiple cars out there will actually cause these cars to compress more into the racetrack just due to the faster speeds, the higher loads into the banking. So you got to run those ride heights just a teeny bit higher once you get in that drafted pack, so you're not bottoming out and dragging that bottom of the car, because that's a lot of stuff that can really slow you down. And what Daytona is all about is just being as slick as possible through the air and not have anything that can slow down your momentum for qualifying. So got to find those perfect ride heights, perfect tire pressures, and I'm sure the person who hits on that right balance, we might see a sizable gap maybe here in qualifying, where when we go to normal fixed setup leagues, we see it's very, very close. I think we could see a little bit bigger margins here tonight.
We certainly could. There's some drivers that are marching for their first, joining in the history books. There's only been one driver in the history of the Doghouse Cup Series that has found themselves having a pole and going to victory lane for themselves. And looking for a chance to do that opportunity is Justin McMahon, who has won twice. Also going to be Andrew St. Clair, who's the most recent winner back in the 2023 season 2. Now, they didn't run Daytona last season for their 2023 season 3. So we'll see if St. Clair can become the driver that can go back-to-back and join the back-to-back club, such as Justin McMahon did back in 2022, sweeping both of those races that year. And can anyone try to catch up and join the club of William Gentry, who has gotten a pole and a win? Did that back when they first started the series, had the pole for the 2021 fall season and as well the summer season, grabbed the win for that of William Gentry, the only driver to have a pole and a win at Daytona. Didn't happen at the same time. Still no one has done that. And that's a very tough task to do, Zach. Usually when you have the pole, you're the biggest target to watch out for going into that next week.
You really are. It seems like you're the kind of the person everybody's gunning for when they come back to the racetrack, and they want to be quicker than you, so to say. So we'll see if anybody can go up there and grab that spot and take hold of those top spots, because not only does you want to get the pole position, but if you get second tonight, that'll at least lock you into that front row position. So second place is still going to be worth a lot, and then that'll even set you up to start first in one of these duels.
Do want to give a huge shout out to the amazing sponsors before qualifying starts. Yeah, next week is going to be the Group 6 200, and Group 6 is helping out, being one of the major sponsors here for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Group 6, rev up your brand's potential with Group 6 at every turn of the Doghouse Racing season. As your creative marketing powerhouse, we are here to fuel your success, accelerate your impact, and steer your brand towards victory. Group 6, where every race is an opportunity to outshine and outperform. Discover more at group6inc.com. And thank you to Shoney's, one of the major title sponsors here, and has been a major sponsor for the Doghouse Racing League in many of the different leagues. Shoney's is proud to be, the Doghouse Racing League is proud to be sponsored by Shoney's. Shoney's is today's all-American kitchen, open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Shoney's guests can count on quality, delicious food along with some warm, friendly service. Stop by one of the West Virginia locations to try out their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bars, and don't forget to go take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. As the drivers are getting ready for qualifying, it's simple, it's easy. 5 minutes. All drivers are going to be on their own little sections of the racetrack as they are going to get prepared to take off. Going to have 2 laps to put down their fastest time. We'll see who can really get that fast lap for themselves. There's some favorites to watch out for. The last driver to get the pole here at Daytona was Kevin Thompson, who was also the fastest during practice. Can that machine get up front, or could it be someone else? Christopher Leftwich found himself getting the pole back in 2022 season 2, and as well William Gentry, another driver that we talked about. It can be quick, but first we'll see how Daniel Wilkerson, is going to be seeing how the 78 is going to be starting out here for qualifying.
Yeah, we'll get to see what Daniel is going to put down here. I'm interested to see right here how they start these qualifying laps. They're going to go straight to the top of the wall here, of course. But will it be a first lap qualifying lap where he drops immediately down to the low line here, coming to start finish line? or will it be an attempt to go for the second lap for that, build that speed up? I think it's going to be the real question here as he comes to start finish line. Let's say he's going to take it low to the yellow line. Looks like it's going to be a one lap hot lap here when it comes to Daniel Wilkerson's side of things. Let's see what he can produce here in this 78 machine as he heads down to turn number 1. And the key here, folks, keeping that car nice and tidy right against the yellow line, shortening that distance as much as possible, but not yanking back and forth on the wheel. You're not trying to cause any type of friction on the front tires. You're not trying to scrub any of those speeds off, because it's all about RPM, all about mile per hour as you head down the back straightaway. You're heading into 3. He's going to try to do a similar task here, as you got to keep that speed up if you want to put that on pole position.
Trying to stay low to that yellow line, but there's a little bit of a gap that we're seeing at the 78. There's a little bit of room that he's given away. First driver with a quick time, Kevin Brown in the 33 machine. Fastest time is a 49.320, and we're going to be seeing how Wilkerson can top the board. Not going to be able to. Second on the board, it's Nicholas Atwood in the 19 with the fastest time, a 49.304. That is a very quick time, Zach. I think a lot of drivers are going to struggle to beat that 19 currently.
It looks to be that way at 304, as right there Chris Leftwich and now Chuck Cobb both come in with times, and Leftwich tied, and now Kevin Thompson there with a 303. So look how close it is. I said there was going to be a pretty a decent margin here, as it looks like Andrew St. Cyr there lands in the 6th position. Felt like the margins were going to be bigger, but it looks very competitive right now when it comes to qualifying speeds. As Jonathan Jennings, our winner from last week at the Clash, goes up top. Now Michael Hayes is just ever changing here, Sam.
Oh, fan favorite Stephen Bonomo going to be second on the board, and these drivers are finding that quick speed in the second lap faster for Nicholas Atwood. Didn't think we were going to be seeing that swing, but the 19 finds a little bit of extra pace, and it is an identical time to that of Michael Hayes. It is so close for these drivers on how fast you can maximize your speed. Kevin Thompson wants to double down on the pole award. Top 2 drivers are automatically going to be the front row for Daytona next week, and it looks to be Nicholas Atwood and Michael Hayes currently. Kevin Thompson could not beat that time. Richard Leclerc in the 17. Is there a little bit of extra speed here for this driver on their first lap with 1 minute and 18 seconds left?
Wow. And Jonathan Jennings jumps to 3rd on the board. His time right there, it's showing at least on iRacing side of things is a 49.258. That's 3 thousandths of a second separating our top 3 right now. And then, add those 3 thousandths together, and that's what 3rd to 4th is. So it just shows you how close everything is right now. Is had the 7 car jump up to 6 on the board. So great time there by Gary. It looks like Hunter Simpson jumps up to 11th. And now Adam Gardner takes the top spot in the 56 there with a 246, putting a whole 100th on the field.
100th over the field. Before that, our top 6 were all within 8 thousandths of a second. Where did Gardner find that extra speed? That's impeccable timing for himself right there at the very last moment. Leclerc, though, the 17 machine, one of 2 drivers still left to put out a time. Also, the 29 of Nate Oloweski, going to be one of the few drivers to put down a time. But Leclerc, will it be good enough to move up on the board? Doesn't look like it's going to be enough speed, nor does it look like the 29 is going to have enough. Our front row looks to be set and settled. What a time for this field and where they're at currently. Man, the drama already striking here, Zach. Adam Gardner, Nicholas Atwood will be your front row for next week's race.
What a job by those 2 there as qualifying comes to an end, and we get ready for heat race number 1, folks, as they're going to start gridding up, and we're going to get ready to see these guys go to battle now for 30 laps. And this is going to be a great preview, great practice, not only for these drivers, and I think something that they're going to use very wisely tonight to get their car tested and tuned and ready for the big show when it comes back here next Thursday.
Yeah, there's some drivers that we know when it comes to race pace, they are quick. There's other drivers that we weren't sure where the qualifying pace was going to be, and it's Adam Gardner with the official pole. And now we get to see dual races. We'll have 2 official dual races, 30 laps each. And this is going to be setting the stage of who will be on the inside row. So let's run down where the drivers will be starting for the duel, for duel number 1. Adam Gardner, who got the pole, going to be starting in the pole position. Michael Hayes going to be in second place. Kevin Thompson starting in third on this duel, with Gary Armio going to be in fourth. Kevin Brown in fifth. Joe McKnight starting in sixth position. Chuck Cobb in seventh. Eighth will go to Bill Gentry, which is William Gentry as well, going to be starting in the 8th position. Our winner of last Daytona that they ran here, and also the winner of the Daytona 300 that we had a few weeks ago, it's going to be Andrew St. Cyr in 9th, and finishing in our top 10, it's Tony Martin.
And starting in the 11th position is going to be Justin McMahon. 12th is going to be David Holsey. 13th position is going to be held by Jamie Horner, pole setter from last week at the Clash. 14th is going to be Michael Dow. 15th is going to be the 31 of Eric Warman. 16th is going to be Raymond Honeyman. 17th, Andy Cork. 18th is going to go to the 29, Nick Orlinsky. And 19th is going to go to Seth Fitzpatrick, as we have 19 cars gridded up off the grid now. Pulling down the back straightaway here, Sam, getting ready for 30 laps of action. I'm telling you what, I can feel the anticipation building up. It's going to be super fun as this green flag drops.
Again, congratulations to Adam Gardner and Nicholas Atwood. That will be your front row for next week's race. This is starting to see where drivers will be lined up for the inside row. This is very critical. If you want to be starting up front, you need to have a great run here for duel number 1. 30 laps is going to be the distance for this race, and there will be cautions. Caution laps will count. So if you get into a wreck, get into too many, this race could become into a more of an intense moment. And if we have too many wrecks during heat duel 1 or 2, this race could turn into a timed race. 45 minutes is the limit that this field has to finish this 30-lap race. We'll see how the drivers can hold on. 19 take the grid, and 19 drivers start the season off for duel number 1. Where will they begin for next week's race? It's time to find out for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Qualifying day is just beginning with duel number 1. We're green. Gardner, Hayes roar down into turn number 1.
Great side-by-side start there from the front 2 rows as Hayes, even with no help, able to stay pretty close there. But now as they go ahead into one, going to lose that ground. But it's the outside lane here forming up already, Sam. They have the numbers, while the bottom 2 there have really hooked up and kind of pulled that gap.
They pulled a gap away, but the side drafting of the 22 of Hayes starting to pull back Kevin Thompson, and now allowing that outside row to get moving for themselves. But also the inside row starting to find some speed. And Zach, when we were watching the Daytona 300, their fundraising race that the Doghouse Racing League had a few weeks ago, that was a fixed setup race, and we saw the dominance of the outside lane. There was a lot of strength up there when drivers really started to push and shove, and you really saw the momentum building. But it looks like right now the inside row is where all the speed's at.
Completely agree with you, Sam. You know, all the preparation that comes into here for these drivers. Well, I did a little prep myself here, and it come back to find out a lot of dominance from that outside line from this next gen car with this package currently. But I think the open setups will change how this race is here. It looks like right now the bottom has had no problems fighting off that top side. So I think we're going to see a much more even battle when it comes to that. It seems like, at least in the fixed setup side of things, that outside has become very dominant here at Daytona in this next gen car.
Well, Kevin Thompson, Adam Gardner, they are working great as a tandem, but the 6 machine, with how amazing we're seeing the pushing, the shoving up front, there always is going to be that looming sensation of, well, what are those temps going to look like for the 6 machine? That's something we're going to touch on a lot more, is how are these drivers going to deal with their engine temps? Blowing an engine is something that can happen if you're not paying attention to your engine temps. Fully is getting a little bit wiggly up front with some aggressive pushes in the entry of the corner.
Some very aggressive pushes for sure, and that's all it takes is just a little off center and you can send someone around. But you talk about the temperature, Sam, that's definitely going to be a subject for sure that these drivers are going to have to figure out. You got to learn how long you can push to stay tucked up behind the bumper of a driver, because when these drivers right here are riding on board, you're going to see when you're tucked up right behind this car here in this 33 of Kevin Brown on board with the 24 Justin McMahon here, as you can see, he's tucked up right behind him. You can get no air up into the engine there as the cooling ducts are in the front of the nose of the car. So you pretty much get no airflow through there. These cars will quickly overheat. If you overheat too much, you will definitely see your day end very quickly. So you got to be very, very careful. Watch those gauges, and also just know how long you can actually get away with that pushing here. Because if you blow engine, Sam, your night and your day's done.
It is done quickly as we ride on board with the 24 of Justin McMahon, the only driver that has won here at Daytona 2 times in his career in the Cup Series, and hoping to maybe grab his 3rd next week for the Group 6 200. But currently, second car on the outside, trying to work with the 33 of Kevin Brown. You see that very bright yellow, and getting used to these drivers' names, their cars, it's going to be something we're going to have to work on ourselves. And for any of you new to the Doghouse Racing League, it is a pleasure to be joining up with a new league. But right now, we're seeing that inside row just dominance at this moment as they continue to push forward. That outside lane, Zach, they just don't look comfortable forming up for themselves. They're looking for someone to be a little bit more, I think, stable on that outside row.
They definitely are, and I've also went through and just had a few looks at a few cars because we were on board there with Justin McMahon there for that moment. I noticed he was in 4th gear, Sam. He wasn't using the full 5th gear, potential of this race car, and that comes down to even the open setup. I wonder what type of gearing he's come, to Daytona with to be able to make that 4th gear because they're making contact and now wrecking here just past pit road.
The whole entire back half of the pack scatters into one another. Just it looked to be a bad bump through the tri-oval. Tried to save it, wasn't able to. And our first caution of the night breaks on lap 6, as well as you saw St. Cor just put down. That 12 machine had the fastest lap of the race coming up to that point and gets involved in the wreck.
That's unfortunate timing for St. Cor there for sure, as we'll get to see on this replay what exactly played out here coming off of turn number 2. And it looks like going down into the tri-oval is where things start to go very, very wrong. As you see a little bit of snaking back and forth, cars trying to follow that car ahead of them, just not able to do it quickly enough, and it's going to cause that back and forth motion. As looks like that outside line came down a little bit, and it's just a little bit of contact. I'm not sure if that was net code, as we would say, or what, Sam, because it couldn't get a close enough look there, but it may have been contact that brought that 12 up the racetrack.
Yeah, looking from another angle, it looks to be just 100% contact. 33 just came down while the 12 was getting off the apron, and that contact initiated that wreck. As we take another look at this incident, and the big thing to watch out here for St. Cor is trying to follow the driver ahead of you, and these kind of checkups that could happen on the entry, but also just trying to get off the apron for a quick moment, gets back in line, then clipped, and away the 12 goes, and the rest of the field scatters.
Wow, that just shows you how fast things happen. You're just riding along, trying to follow the driver ahead of you, and then all of a sudden you're looking backwards at the field, and things are going wrong. So, unfortunate there for St. Cor. We're going to have to get those cars worked on, and hopefully nobody with too much major damage. Luckily, no meatball flags, as that's your required damage flag, as we would call it here in iRacing. So nobody having to come down to get anything required, Sam, but I think definitely some fenders are going to try to get unbent.
Yeah, if this is your first time being on iRacing, there are 2 damage meters that you're given. There's optional damage, where you can still race without getting that damage worked on, and there's required that iRacing deems you must come into pit road. Your vehicle is too hazardous to stay on track, and no driver wants to have that required damage flag that forces you into pit road to get that required damage fix. Optional is always you can tolerate it at times, but Zach, I gotta say, this next-gen car, it's been a while since we've covered it, but these cars still are tanks from the last time we watched them just about 6 to 7 months ago.
They definitely are. These things are ready for war. They are definitely cars that are built to take a beating, man. It's just really a tried and true thing, and the iRacing, damage model for the car seems to be pretty realistic in my opinion, even. So, with the composite bodies and different things they've changed over the years, it's really seemed to make these cars that much more resilient, and seems like you can get in a few bumps and bruises, and you can put a band-aid on them, and then next thing you know, your car's back just perfect again. So it's good to see for these guys who got involved in that most likely will be fine. Is it's just one of those things, man. You gotta love the machine you're driving when it will last through something like that. Is we're getting to see some of these weather conditions now popped up on the bottom right of the screen.
Yeah, weather conditions for duel number 1. Air temp going to be 73 degrees. Track temp going to be around 87, 88 for a quick moment as the drivers are just pacing around. The wind, not too aggressive. We'll see how that tries to change throughout this race because these next-gen cars, tire wear is a factor. And if you get a crosswind off the exit of these corners, really can irritate these vehicles if they are just hit the wrong way off the exit of the corner. So these drivers hoping that wind will settle down, but as you can see, Zach, as I was talking, it just popped from 3 miles per hour up to 12 and still rising. That wind, it could be a factor to continue to watch out for, as it looks to be the wind is crossing from the backstretch to the front stretch. That's the worst angle you could ask for coming off of 2 and off of 4.
It definitely is. You don't want to have that crosswind. So and that can not only affect how you're handling your race car is, but when we just did that qualifying session, you never know how you're going to catch the wind. You could get the perfect timing where you get a perfect tailwind down the front stretch and a perfect tailwind down the back stretch, and that's where the wind's going to swap back and forth for you. And it's all about timing with that. That's just luck of the draw, as they would say. But it definitely, in these bigger packs, especially at these higher speeds in the draft where the air is already pretty turbulent, a little bit of wind change can affect the handling, especially when we're playing at these open setups where I'd say an open setup side of things, you're going to have the car a little bit more on edge, trying to draw every little bit of speed out of this race car compared to where the fixed setup is a little bit more conservative, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little bit more conservative, allowing drivers to, not put their car on the absolute limit. But I think for tonight, I think some drivers might have been thinking about, let's aim for stability more than anything to put ourselves at risk as the field is stacked up side by side. Pace car lights are off. We're going this time by as they are on the backstretch. Thank you so much for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If it's your first time joining with us, well, my name is Sam Dyer. I have Zach Hall with me as my co-commentator, and we have Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be your lead commentators for this season of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Thank you so much to Shoney's, Group 6, and Fanatic for being an affiliate partner with the Doghouse Racing League, as the drivers are currently running the dual race number 1. This is the setup who's going to be in what position after our front row to see where they'll be placed on the inside lane, which that's something, Zach, that these drivers are maybe thinking about. Maybe you didn't qualify well. You qualified deeper in the field during your qualifying time to set the front row. Well, this is your opportunity, this race, to get yourself up front and get in a better starting position for next week's race for the Group 6 200. Pace car off, green flag is out, and here we go. First caution is done, and it's all Adam Gardner, Kevin Thompson back in line, leaving to the outside is Jamie Horn.
Great start from Gardner as he gets right back where he wants to, right on the bottom line, leading the way here. We're going to have a 3 wide action there farther back. It looks like that might be Michael Dow in the middle of the field here. He's going to dice it up 3 wide through the middle. This is going to upset the pack a little bit here and kind of cause a little bit of some runs being formed and generated with gaps being filled, as it looks like Jamie Horn's going to jump.
That's actually going to be the 38 of Raymond Hanneman, who's going to be the driver that really forced the issue, going 3 wide. That 38 machine is not waiting for anyone. Aggressive mode has been launched, and really the driver that hurt the most from this was Jamie Horn. Just had 0 help, was able to slot back in line as they continue to put the pressure forward. Already with that little bit of a dive bomb move to go 3 wide, Zach, we're starting to see a split up. We've got our front pack and we've got a second pack starting to build, and they are spacing out from one another. The speed difference over 10 miles an hour and more. This 3 wide action is hurting this group.
It is really hurting them right now, Sam. This is detrimental to their race because right now they're falling farther back, and there's 2 cars even wrecking. It looks like that might be Joe McKnight and Andy Cork, as it looks like McKnight is hard into the back straightaway wall as he's going to get back up to speed. Andy Cork just had to take an excursion through the grass, but those 2 wrecking there, losing the draft pack, and that calls that second pack now 2 seconds behind 8th place. 8th place is gone.
Yeah, it is completely pulling away and no longer even a question. You are going to have to put in the most work if you're 9th place driver of Halsey and that of Bill Gentry and if that whole entire second pack behind them, they need to all cluster up, get in line, and try to catch up to this front group of 8. Otherwise, this is their own race. Relook at that incident of Andy Cork and Joe McKnight. It looked like Andy Cork was on the 3rd lane, had a little bit of a bad clip, and dashed down, ran it into Joe McKnight, and both of those drivers really hard contact. Joe McKnight getting the worst of it as we ride on board with 9th place runner of David Halsey. Halsey hoping that the drivers behind will just shove this 57 and catch up to that group ahead. But the gap between 8th and 9th is 2.2 seconds. But Zach, the big positive they can take away, they're slowly gaining on that front group.
They are, Sam, and with them being about 3 seconds back, they are going to get a little teeny bit of a sniff of a draft. Even that far back, it's going to help them. Also, they do slightly have numbers. Instead of it being an 8-car pack like we have up front, they got a 9-car pack. So it's going to work out in their favor just a little bit more. And hopefully we can see them have a pretty big run here coming down in the next 10 laps here. So when they get there, it's going to be a pretty big head of steam.
Well, 1 caution in the books all the way at the start of lap 6. And now these drivers are split up into 2 packs after aggressive dad bomb moves to go 3 wide. It makes there to be too much side drafting, lost some momentum at pace. And now we have 2 distinct packs. Second one trying their best to catch up to the lead group and starting to stall out, but hoping to find some speed, because as we're looking at the front group now, there's little pockets and gaps, and those little air bubbles that we're seeing in between each car, that's lack of speed that they need to put together if they want to stay in front of the second group that's closing in quickly.
That's exactly right, Sam. And another thing that's going to help the second group is this first pack, not forever, is going to be completely running single file. At some point, they're going to fight each other. So for that second pack, if you can just stay within 2.5 to 3 seconds, if you can't close it down, if you can just stay this close, when they start to fight each other, you will start to close that gap down. So you got to just stay in it right now and just fight it out. But that pack still continuing to take little tints out here every now and then of that front pack ahead of them. Only about 2.3 back now is David Halsey from that leader, Adam Gardner.
Taking every little speed that you can. This front group being led by Adam Gardner, driver in 2nd place. That's Kevin Thompson, 4th most starts of anyone in the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. And the 6 machine hoping to continue to be an aggressive pusher. 1 super speedway win in the career of the 6 machine. That was at Talladega back in the 2022 season 1. 2 years ago was the last super speedway win for this driver, and hoping to maybe get into victory lane again. Last time this driver was in victory lane was back in November for the end of season 3. So Kevin Thompson going to be a threat to watch out for, I think, when we officially start the season. And right now showing with himself, Adam Gardner, and Chuck Cobb, those 3 drivers are a dynamic trio that really are doing a great job up front.
They really are looking pretty good right now. And one of the drivers there in that pack, it's like maybe had an issue. That might have been Nate Orlinsky. He's actually made contact now with Raymond as he goes by the 38. That was a little bit of close action. That brings that second pack even that much closer now. So wow, that was a wild ordeal. Some of these guys here who are in these positions, such as Nate Orlinsky or Raymond Hamanen, they've gained a ton of positions here and have gained a ton from their qualifying if it was to end up like this right now. So that's the point of these qualifying races and the heats. You can gain a lot here even though you didn't qualify.
Yeah, you certainly can gain a lot. Right now, like you said, those drivers that are trying to gain as much as they can from qualifying. You also can lose a lot from qualifying, such as Joe McKnight and Andy Cork, who are some of our biggest losers currently. Thought they were going to qualify well, didn't find their speed that they wanted, and now going to be starting most likely at the end of the line on the inside row, as his group in the second pack not a fan of the lead driver. That's also another thing that's interesting. Some of these drivers, they've raced around one another. They know each other's tendencies. Some drivers trust others more than some. Oh no, spun around. Is going to be the 29. Goes around for himself. Nate Orlowski troubles for the 29. Spun again. That exits to the corner. Bad bumps go around, and a yellow flag will be thrown.
It looks like that will be a yellow flag there for that incident. I believe that just happened on the pit road there. So yeah, we got to see that one pretty much live, but Orlinsky there really just unfortunate timing to hit that inside wall and collect a good little bit of damage. But this is gonna help bring him back here with that yellow flag.
Going to be able to bring it back the 29 as well. Should be bringing some other drivers back into the mix of Andy Cork, but Cork 3 laps down. Just going to be able to get at least one of the laps back with this caution as the field's trying to close back into the pace car. We'll give a huge shout out to the amazing sponsors again that help out here for the Doghouse Racing League. First one again being Shoney's. Doghouse Racing League is proud to be sponsored by Shoney's. If you haven't gone to Shoney's, go check out one of their amazing locations in the West Virginia location, as they've got so many great offers as they're open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And as well, they've got themselves a freshly prepared legendary breakfast bar for you to try out. And don't forget to take one of their amazing pies. Heard that their strawberry pie is one of the better ones to get. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. And Group 6. Group 6, rev up your brand's potential with Group 6 at every turn of the Doghouse Racing season. As your creative marketing powerhouse, we're here to fuel your success, accelerate your impact, and steer your brand towards victory. Group 6, where every race is an opportunity to outshine and outperform. Discover more at group6inc.com. And if you would like to help out the Doghouse Racing League in a financial way, and if you're looking to get your sporting gear, go on over to Fanatics. Fanatics is partnered up with Doghouse Racing League. When you're purchasing using the link down below in the description, all commissions go to the Doghouse Racing League to help out the league and fundraise all their different series. Fanatic, a majority of your major league sporting groups are there, and it helps you go find some if you're looking for team apparel, jerseys, headwear, or hard goods. Thank you so much to the amazing sponsors that help out the Doghouse Racing Leagues. But Zach, we're closing in on 10, gonna be less than 10 laps to go when we go green again. This field, I think they're feeling that anticipation. It's building up again here late.
It really is definitely starting to build up, and it's also allowed the second pack who was fighting there to try to get back up to that front group that broke away. Well, now their opportunity is here. It's arisen, and they're going to have also some opportunity, some time to make some moves. So I think we're not going to see too much ride in line here. I think you're going to see a lot of positions changing hand. Maybe the front 4 or 5 are going to try to hold station, because no real reason for them to fight right now. If they do, they could just risk going backwards. But I think anybody outside that top 5, they're going to be looking to get inside that top 5. So to be in position for when we get to around 2 to the white flag to make that final move to go try to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that of the 38 machine of Raymond Man willing to go 3 wide there really early on before anyone was fully up to speed. That really hurt the majority of that pack. Curious if the 38 might be trying some risky move. Could we see someone else that's deeper in the field that once was up front have to make a charge? I mean, the 7 of Gary Armio as well as Kevin Brown. Those are drivers that qualified inside our top 5. Those 2 now outside of the top 10. They're looking to find that little bit of extra speed potentially here. And we already know Justin McMahon, very fast as the 24 at super speedways. How will they be able to recover on this restart, as waiting for the 1 to go marker to be given to the field, where the lights go off on the pace car and the drivers stack side by side and already showing signs. It's time for us to get back to green flag racing. Zach, qualifying day. It's so interesting when you look at when leagues decide to have a day where it's just dedicated to setting up the field for the opener race. Have you ever experienced something like this before personally as a driver, or have you experienced something where you've watched something like this happen in the sim racing?
Well, one time before, Sam, myself have been involved in, the duels and the situation that plays out here with Daytona qualifying, and it's always a fun situation because it's a little bit different than real life, in my opinion, with the sim. Where in real life, I think they got to worry a little bit more about the equipment and making sure they get to the Daytona 500. Where in the sim, it's just great practice and more or less a race that there's nothing to lose. This will help me set up my qualifying for starting up front in a race that could have the ups and downs, but it could be helpful to start up front definitely in. But it's just one of those things, I think, more or less in sim racing, that you get to have a good time first off by just racing, but it's also just great practice and preparation for that race coming up next week, to know how the runs build. Where do you want to be when that gets down to that closing situation to be able to go win that race? Because winning here tonight, yes, it is going to be nice to do that, but they want to win. So next week is going to be the real one that they really want.
They really do. Next week, again, going to be the season opener at Daytona. This is qualifying day to set up where they will start for next week's race. There will be 80 laps for the Group 6 200. Then they'll actually have the week off for February 15th. The season will be back to a lot of racing action for a couple of weeks in a row, starting February 22nd. So it will be a little bit of a break after race 1 to race 2. I know the league is very much excited to start 2024 out with a bang. They've already done so with some amazing races, such as their fundraising race, the Daytona 300, and last week at the Clash. And now it's qualifying day as the drivers see the pace car pull off and the green flag is out. Here we go, back to racing action, 9 laps to go. And Adam Gardner trying to get in line, but Kevin Thompson, Chuck Cobb, they aren't playing as kindly as they've done before, but it looks like the 56 might be able to find a little bit of space now to drop down.
Looking for that space, and he's just gonna find enough there to jump down in front of that 6 machine. But what can Warman do up here in the 31? That's going to be the big question. Look at the big run they're forming. This down this back straightaway, this outside line for the first time, challenging up front. And Eric Warman sticking his nose ahead of the 56 of Adam Gardner, who's led the whole way.
Yeah, that of seeing Warman trying to move forward. And Eric Warman had a very troublesome week last week for the Clash, trying to brush that kind of miserable day away. And the 31 trying to push forward to start as further up as you can. This is for the 2nd row to be on the inside lane. And if you win this race, so critical on your placements. I think everyone might be thinking we have to get in front of Kevin Thompson. If you can allow Adam Gardner to win this race, but don't let the 6 start directly behind him for next week's race, you need to move up into at least 2nd place.
That's exactly right, Sam, because whoever finishes 2nd in this race, you got to remember, will start 3rd, you know, because Gardner already locking in that front row. Wherever he finishes, it does not matter. It's pretty much just going to come down now to who can finish either 2nd to him or beat him, because at the end of the day, if you beat him or you finish 2nd to him, it's still going to be a 3rd place starting position.
As the drivers on the outside row trying to find a little bit more help, but squeezing into the outside. No, it's going to be seeing the 50 and Warman into one another. Michael Doe going to be involved with this one, the 50 and the 31. Hard contact. And they just squeezed again a little bit too close to one another. And now trying to cycle on who's going to be placing where as they finally point straight. But Zach, I mean, very similar to what brought out our first caution of the day. Coming up that trial, just drivers squeezing into one another and it just unfortunately making contact.
Yeah, this one right here, very, very interesting in my opinion. This is going to come off of turn number 4 here. You're going to have that 50 machine of Michael Dow kind of drift up the racetrack just a little bit, and as he comes up the racetrack, at that same time, the car above him of Eric Warman in the 31 is also coming down the racetrack. So they just kind of meet, and unfortunately, once they meet together, just the timing and where the placement of the nose and the front of the 2 cars were, it just turns that 50 across the nose of the 31, and they kind of get stuck, as you see here on the front straightaway.
Also, another angle that might give us a shot of a little bit of net code, Zach. I think that's what really got those drivers stuck to one another as they were closing in. Like I said, the timing of it, these drivers got very close, but due to the fact of, you know, with the way the internet's kind of been, I know on the East Coast there's been some internet issues. West Coast there's some major storms. Netcodes when your shell of your car kind of goes invisible, and what the internet thinks is your car's box, hitbox, you could say, is different from what other boxes are, and there it is, just like a foot of working, and they still had a space to work with, but the netcode collects in and both drivers get involved in that wreck. That's kind of the unfortunate things of internet racing that can happen, but hey, sometimes you got to know, hey, this driver's, his internet's not the best. We got to give each other just a little bit more space.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, sometimes that's the good old saying too in iRacing, you know, you would think, man, what is that guy doing? Why did he just come down and just hit me? Or why did he come up and hit me? Well, you got to go back and look at the replay, and that's the beauty of it. Looking at the replay shows right there, just that a good little bit of space still in between those cars that causes that issue. And like you said, that's part of racing online. I mean, we're all across the world when it comes to iRacing. And when that happens, you're going to have different connections and just issues that are going to plague themselves. So tough break there for some of the guys right there in the middle of that field. But we're going to get to see another restart. As that was really Gardner's weakest moment there, I would say, during all this. Him and Thompson have been flawless, but up to that point, that outside line had some steam and had some momentum, but it died out quickly once Warman, as you see, got involved in that.
Yeah, that side drafting power, another factor that I think it's keeping the outside from able to use that maximum potential that we know is out there. Get enough drivers in line, willing to stay very close to one another. They could really gain a lot of speed and get the action working. But it looks like at this current time, the inside row too strong. But when we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing, and Zach, the timing of that yellow, I believe this race should be around 4 laps to go to 3 to go. We'll see if these drivers need any more extra time, but if we see any more caution flags come out, this race gets a little bit more interesting on the fact of we could, it's going to get very close to this race turning into a timed race. Now, we've had plenty of green flag racing so far. I think we won't see this race turn into a timed race, but again, if we have a caution come out immediately, when we go back to green, that's when things get a little bit closer for themselves.
You're exactly right about that for sure, Sam. It's getting closer. Luckily, I think we've had enough green flag laps here that we shouldn't run into that issue, but it does show you that it is a possibility. And even that second heat, they got to know that and keep that in mind. We could have a time issue when it comes down to these things if we have enough caution laps. But with the fact that we're counting caution laps this week, that's not going to be, I think, too big of an issue, especially for this heat with about 15 minutes and 30 seconds still remaining here to get these final laps in. But you never know, Sam. We might need some green, white checkered and some overtimes to get this all said and done.
As the drivers stack side by side, going to be 4 laps to go, as we will have a total of 16 drivers on the lead lap when we go green here. And all of them technically also have a chance to win at the end of this first duel. We do have a second duel after this before we'll call it a night. But again, a huge congratulations to the drivers that have already qualified for the front row. That being Adam Gardner with taking your official pole award for next week's race, and Nicholas Atwood going to be starting on the outside for that front row next week. Both drivers set in stone. They know where they're going to be starting next week. The rest of the field, this is what Duel 1 and Duel 2 is for, is to see where they will be placed at the starting grid for the Group 6 200. As the field is getting prepared and ready for this green, it's going to be Adam Gardner, Kevin Thompson, Raymond Handyman, as well as Chuck Cobb going to be your top 4. Seth Fitzpatrick, Jamie Horn, Tony Martin, Bill Gentry, Kevin Brown, and Gary Armio going to be your top 10. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone in the chat who has been trying to help us pronounce people's names. It is a huge thanks. Again, this is a new league, new drivers, so we appreciate everyone that's trying to help us out with names. We hope to get them right, at least within the next 3 races, as we are back to green flag action with 4 laps to go for that of duel number 1.
And that was a clean execution there from the 56 and the 6 machine as they stay hooked up along with Chuck Cobb and the 81 as they have taken off these first 3 super strong here out the gates on this restart. And actually almost a moment of a loss of grip there off the exit of 2 there as the 6 is just pushing this 56 so far ahead that this is a little bit of concern for me, Sam, here. You push yourself out too far here, that pack might get a little bit of a bigger run.
It might get a bigger run. That's going to be a big problem because I think Jamie Horn might be willing to use a little bit of that extra spacing to maybe send it to the outside, but the 98 doesn't have really anyone to work yet. It's with Seth Fitzpatrick. That's the first driver that really has help to work with, but they're stuck too wide. It might still work out where this front 4 stay in line and aren't going to lose really too many positions, but with 3 laps to go, starting to see a little bit more jostling. The drivers are ramping up. The side drafting's more aggressive. Horn's almost making contact with a 38 machine, but that outside lane's rolling now, Zach, and there's only just a handful of drivers there, but starting to grow to find more help as the lap continues to wind down.
being led by the 38 on the outside. Raymond Heyman is looking to really go forward. Here's the 2 of Tony Martin giving him the push. And look at this, a little bit of contact here. This has made some separation on the front 2 up front. Now Jamie Horn goes around.
Fitzpatrick, Horn, others, yellow flag is out, and we're going to overtime.
I think also confirmation on this, we got 1 green-white checkered attempt. So this should be our only attempt at a green-white checkered here. And man, this is setting up some interesting scenarios. If we didn't get a yellow there, Sam, if we stayed clean, those front 2 were getting way out. That was going to be a wild moment, but we're going to get to see on the replay what exactly all played out here to cause this yellow to come out as Jamie Horn will sit around.
Jamie Horn was trying to hold steady, but Fitzpatrick, I think they just got pushed the pusher, and away they go. Hard contact as well for Michael Hayes, who ran into Fitzpatrick in the 28 machine, and the rest of the field, I think what could have been a lot worse of an accident spares some, others not so gracefully, as going to be Gary Armio in the 7 machine and the 4 of Bill Gentry. Hard contact for both of them, required damage and forced into pit road are the both, as let's see another driver going really far out. That was the 2 machine who just continued to have his spill.
He really did. That continued on for a while there, for sure. As everybody's caught up to the pace car now is Adam Gardner. I mean, what execution again on that restart to him and Kevin Thompson there to get a really, really big run coming out of 2. But, you know, with the green-white checkered here, we're going to get to see if anybody can set up anything for him. I got to give credit for that 38, though. What a job Raymond did coming up through the field. And if anything, right now, he qualified in the 16th position to start out this race. I mean, that was so far down the grid. I mean, that's around the 31st position, I believe he would have qualified. So right now, being 3rd in this race, not doing too bad.
No, not at all. And, you know, for a lot of these drivers, this was their opportunity, that if you maybe you didn't have the qualifying setup, but you knew that your race trim was set up for a better run, and that's what the duels allow you to, is that recovery space to get up front. Thank you so much to everyone who's joining with us. We are officially in overtime for duel race number 1. We have another duel race after this. There'll be another 30 laps of great racing action. Currently, it's Adam Gardner who's up front, but Gardner's position is not going to be influencing, should not be influencing too much on how this duel race goes down. But positioning wise on how next week's race is going to start, that's where things get a little bit more tricky. Adam Gardner, as well as going to be Nicholas Atwood, both have already from qualifying earlier before this race, qualified to take the front row for next week's running of the game, Group 6 200. So now it's basically a race of whoever can finish either ahead of Gardner or the first driver behind Gardner at the end of this race will find themselves starting in 3rd position. All these drivers are going to be lined up on the inside row starting next week's race. So this is a critical positioning for some. If you want to be starting up front during next week's race, you have to finish well here tonight. But if you'd like to start in the back, I mean, Zach, this is just a fun race for you to go out and have some fun, get some testing for your setup, and then maybe follow the back and be willing to finish back there.
That's very true, Sam. That's very, very true. You could try to put yourself in the back. If you want to already be back there, why not drop back in this, in this heat race here to make yourself start farther back to start out next week's race. But if I'm the rest of the field, I got to try to break up this 6 and this 56, man, because if the 6 finishes second to Adam Gardner even in this race here, he's going to start in that 3rd position. So, man, I tell you, this is going to be a interesting little start here, because if I'm that 81, if I'm that 38, you got to do something here to separate these guys and try to have some opportunity to go out here and win this heat race.
Hoping to do so the best that they can. Also, do want to say sorry for any blips or glitches that happen on the broadcast. There's been a lot of internet, like I said, issues that have been going on the East Coast, as well as storms on the West Coast. So there's been internet issues that have happened for the drivers on track, and as well, we're hoping to get sorted before next week's race. But thank you for everyone that's been sticking with us throughout tonight's, unfortunate circumstances. but we very much appreciate all those that have been watching and chatting throughout tonight's race. You're watching the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. This is dual race number 1. Adam Gardner, Kevin Thompson, and Chuck Cobb have been the dominant trio up front. This is going to be their toughest start, though, because you've got Kevin Thompson and Cobb both going to be on the outside lane. Gardner most likely going to be trying to get in front of that 6 as quickly as possible. The 81 might be trapped on the outside. Who is going to find themselves up front, though, is going to be the tough thing here, because I don't know if they're going to be able to find that extra space to work with here, Zach.
It's going to be tough to find it, for sure. The one I watch for is the 81, because the 56, we know, I think, what he's going to do. He's going to try to jump down in front of the 6. Can the 81 get the help on the outside? We've seen Chuck Cobb. Car was very fast in qualifying. Will that qualifying speed come to use here in this final few laps here of this heat race?
As drivers wait for the pace car to pull off into pit road, this is it. This race is into overtime, only one attempt. Who is going to be starting in third place and the rest of their starting positions on the inside row into next week's running of the Group 6 200? It's already Adam Gardner in line with Kevin Thompson. Also going to be having the 38 right behind him. Cobb, where will he go? Does he follow, or do they find some other friends? And if we get a yellow flag before we get to the start finish line for the white flag, this race will also become official. So the drivers hope for the white flag, and here we go, Zach, off the exit of turn 2.
Single file, 9 cars deep now. The first one to jump out is farther back. That's going to be David Holsey. He's going to be dropping back, though. Now is Jamie Horn starting to storm back through in the 98 machines. He's trying to make something happen, but it's our top 3 who are really starting to get close to each other. As it looks like the 38 has elected to try to jump out there for a moment, but now just couldn't get close enough as the 6 pushes the 56 here to the line.
And the white flag will be thrown. This race is official for dual race number 1. As the freaky fast white flag is out. Adam Gardner, Kevin Thompson, comfortable, but for how long? There's a little bit of a gap building up. Drivers are side by side for third place. They're too far back. They need to find some massive momentum here, Zach.
That they really do here, Sam. The momentum coming now, though, as Chuck Cobb has the help. The 24, Justin McMahon, pushing him forward, as now he's going to jump down in front of the 38, who's getting the shove from the 98. And now this may propel the 81. The 81's going to have a huge run here coming through 3 and 4.
Chuck Cobb got to go to the outside. The 81 sneaks down low. The 38 bounces. And oh no, Kevin Thompson, everyone wrecks. It's going to be Raymond in second place. But the winner of Duel 1, Adam Gardner, as pandemonium strikes off the exit turn 4. No wait, no give. It's all taking at the end. And Raymond Hammond takes that second place position and will be starting in third place on the inside row. Congratulations to the 38 machine and everyone else in Duel 1. What a finish. And Kevin Thompson from second falls all the way down to 11th at the end of this race.
Wow. And that right there shows you how fast things can go. Very, very bad here at Daytona. And I mean, what a run from the 81. The 6 goes to block it. And then I think, from there, the 98 went low. It was kind of all over the place there for drivers. But Raymond is going to be one that's starting in third. And, I mean, after qualifying in 31st, that's a heck of a job from that team.
Crazy finish there at the end. Your top 10 after Duel 1 is going to be Adam Gardner, Raymond Heyman, as well as David Hulsey. Justin McMahon going to take 4th. 5th goes to Kevin Brown. 6th goes to Seth Fitzpatrick, with Andrew St. Cour going to be in 7th. Michael Dow going to be in 8th, as Michael Hayes in 9th. And finish out our top 10 will actually be Kevin Thompson, who was able to sneak away a position as there were some black flags thrown at the very end. Well, dual race number 2, going to be less drivers, just by 1, 18 in total. And Zach, this one should be just as thrilling as the last. Excited for it. Starting up front, the driver that has already taken the front row, going to be starting in second place. We're going to be seeing Nicholas Atwood in that top position. Last season's champion of Jonathan Jennings going to be in second, with Stephen Bonomo in third. Daniel Wilkerson going to be starting in 4th. Gary Clune going to be in 5th. Hunter Simpson 6th. 7th goes to Chris Leftwich, with Christopher Simon going to be in 8th. Mike Leftwich going to be in 9th. 10th will be Eric Anderson.
Starting in the 11th position, it's Gary Maydew. 12th is going to go to Steve Gerber in the Tin Machine. 13th is going to go to Mark Dumont. 14th is going to go to Leroy Kobolets. 15th is going to be the 34 on Michael Mekana. 16th is going to be Richard Leclerc. 17th is going to go to Jonathan Smith. And rounding out the 18 cars here in Duel 2, it's going to be Eddie Rivers in the 15.
And if any of you are in the chat are willing to help us with pronouncing names, we would gladly appreciate it, like you've already been doing so far. Thank you so much for helping out with Andrew's name so much here tonight. And again, we heavily appreciate all those that have been in the chat trying to help us out. And I love that St. Coors is now St. Beer now. So now that's going to be his nickname moving forward, as it looks like Leroy Koblitz is not going to be able to take the start here for duel race number 2, so we might be down just 17 drivers, but this duel just as impactful as the last. This is going to be setting up the outside row for where drivers will be starting out for next week's race for the Group 6 200, as this will be our last race to be covering it for tonight. Thank you so much for everyone that's been joining with us. Zach, any final thoughts before we start out here for duel race number 2?
We got to see some heat racing last week at the fairgrounds, and the 2 different heat races were, had their differences and had their similarities. I'm interested to see what we'll see here tonight at the plate race, especially with some different cars out here. Let's see who's got what. But I tell you what, it was a fun first heat. Let's see how the second one goes.
Nixon Slatwood, Jonathan Jennings, going to be some fast drivers to watch out for. Jennings probably going to be my favorite to watch out for on that outside lane, but green flag is out. Qualifying day about to be concluded. Last race of the night is underway as Atwood stays low, and Jennings finding more drivers to work alongside on that outside lane. 891 already taking the lead position.
Yeah, look, to help us, Stephen Bonomo able to really rock it out to that lead. We'll see, does Jennings jump down in front of Atwood, or does he hold station up top? We saw the 56 of Gardner in the first race really like that bottom lane, but it looks like the top lane being dominant right now. As you can see down the back straightaway, that outside lane, just the momentum is just a massive, as now they'll drop low.
And these top 3, they are going to be the favorites to watch out for here, Zach. Main reason why, these were the top 3 drivers in the point standings last season. Jonathan Jennings took the championship. Hunter Simpson, who runs in 3rd, currently on track, was 2nd in points, and it was Daniel Wilkerson who came away 3rd in points last season. Those are your top 3 on track, and were the top 3 during the end of last season. So no surprise that they're up front and already looking like a solid squad in those top positions.
They are looking very, very strong already. We've seen Jennings. He was rock solid last week in that Clash race, and looks to be that way again here for the duel. Is now right on board with Eric Anderson in 43. He's going to have the 19 of Eric Nicholas Atwood, who, you got to remember, locked himself into that front row position for Daytona next week. He's going to jump to the outside and try to show some speed in that 19, but just not enough help right now.
Trying to get up front the best that they can at this time. Jonathan Jennings up front, Daniel Wilkerson going to be in 2nd, Hunter Simpson in 3rd. And once again, like what we saw from duel race number 1, it's actually the inside row that's the faster place to be, it seems like currently. Thought maybe we're going to see that speed on the top side here, Zach, but like we said before, this is an open setup league. They can make adjustments. They can set up this car to where they feel like the speed is a lot more capable on that inside row.
Definitely can. It a lot of times comes down to the handling characteristics, how free, how tight these race cars can be. And it seems like the setup changes that these drivers have made on these race cars has really made that inside line come alive. But when we get a bigger pack out there, that'll be the question next week heading into it. Will that outside lane become predominant at some point, or will the inside lane continue to show really what we've seen so far as the preferred way to be? But we'll just have to watch how that develops, especially with the 19 Nicholas Atwood, who qualified so well, dropping back right now on that outside line. We know he's got a fast race car, at least in qualifying. Let's see if he can show that here by being able to push a car up on this outside.
Well, top 3 going to be your top 3 drivers from last season. Well, the top driver leading the outside row going to be your last season's Rookie of the Year winner, the 45, Gary Clune, trying to get some help from Atwood. And right now stalling out with Steven Bonomo down in 6th position, and they're still fighting back and forth. Who's going to have 5th? Who's going to have 6th? A giant stall out, it seems like here, Zach. Not a lot of space to work with, but 5 laps in is around the zone where we started to see drivers having some movement with maybe that tire wear factor, maybe comfortability factor, but we have to keep our eyes out through the trial. That's where we saw major issues during duel number 1.
I think also you got a patience factor that you got to add there with some of these guys. They're going to be wanting to go forward, and when you don't go forward, you try to make things happen, and sometimes that's where things go wrong. As you see the 9 machine here, all tucked up behind Christopher Simon, as Steven he's going to have the 8 of Chris Leftwich, who's done a good job to get himself up here, also right in the mix. But looks like the whole pack kind of single filing out as we got a few looking to jump outside, but outside line just continuing to deteriorate. And that's so interesting to see, just the differences from a fixed setup to an open setup, Sam, how the bottom lane has just come alive.
It certainly is very interesting to watch how it's changed for these drivers. Again, Leroy Koblitz was not able to start this race. Driver that did was going to be Michael Menchaca, who was not able to get started. Just got the report from chat. Thank you so much again, also for those that are helping us with names. PC issues for the 34, who was also trying to get back in the race. Same for that of the 42 of Leroy. So drivers are trying to get back into this race as soon as possible, but with being already 6 laps down for some of these drivers, I don't think there's going to be enough time maybe to get those laps back, even if we got a lot of cautions to build up. Again, only 30 laps is this duel race, so any mistakes could be massive as we're on board with Jonathan Smith. And Smith is getting a great shot as you look in the top right in his mirror of the drivers that are around him, trying to stay centered and focused, looking through your windshield. Zach, how many drivers are really looking up in their mirrors, maybe concerned about what's happening behind them?
I tell you what, when you're at Daytona and Talladega, I would say a lot of times when you're driving, it's about 30% out the windshield and 70% out the mirror, especially the farther up you get to the field. The farther back you get, sometimes you will start to focus a little bit more out the windshield as you don't have too many cars out behind you. But when you're at 5th, 6th position and you got a 30 car pack behind you, you're really looking in that mirror a lot of times, looking for what's coming, and just kind of keeping that in your peripherals at all times and trying to at least keep yourself updated, because things happen faster at Daytona. As you see the outside line starting to build up, but a little bit of the check up there at the 45 of Clune, that could have been bad. Everybody did a good job to check up there, Sam, because we could have seen a wreck right there, no doubt.
We certainly could have. And also the trends of watching heat races or duel races is when you watch one race, if it's maybe the first race is very calm and everyone's taking it easy, usually the second race is chaotic and a mess. That first race seemed to be here tonight a little bit more on the chaotic side, with people also recognizing, hey, it's kind of tough to make some passes, and it seems to be a little bit more calmness, a little bit more give. Again, we're still only in the first third of this race as we're on the start of lap 9. But currently right now, it seems like the outside lane, at least 3 of the drivers want to move forward, but they need a lot more help if they want to catch up to our top 3. There's still Jennings, Wilkerson, Simpson, just in a dominant form as the top 3.
Atwood is beating the back bumper off of the 45. He's got the 14 of Mark Dumont kind of beating his back bumper off. These guys are trying their best to go forward, but they just don't seem to have the speed to be able to pull themselves alongside the groups ahead. And that sometimes can get frustrating behind the wheel, you know, and you can get a little bit too over pushing. You can get off center and try to do something that maybe, you know, you wouldn't have done if you weren't trying to, over exaggerate and try to catch up as much. But you can just see also that 45 kind of up the racetrack, and the 19 wants to be closer down side drafting. So maybe a little disconnect there from these drivers farther in this outside line.
Also taking a look at where maybe some drivers, we could see some movement happening. I think our top 3 are pretty solidified on where they're at. The 3 drivers behind them, though, you've got the 27 of Christopher. It's going to be running in the 27 and 4th. Then you also have Steven Bonomo, Chris Leftwich. Those drivers are just sitting and maybe trying to, you know, pick and choose. Where do you want to go? Where do you place this vehicle? And as well, being kind of trapped, having that outside lane and not able to really utilize any runs or momentum if they get any runs to push forward, as father and son combo are out there on track in line with one another. The 8 machine of Chris Leftwich, the son, the father of Mike Leftwich, and the 60 machine inside row. That's where we find the 8 and the 60 machine.
That is always cool to see when you have, a family member out there able to draft with you. You have a good feeling about that when, you have them with you out there to kind of trust and have that guiding feeling. Oh, well, I think my family is going to go with me more than this random guy here. Is you can see this outside line. It's starting to actually make something work here. Gary Clune, the 19 of Nicholas Atwood here. They've stayed with it. And here they come, Sam. They've pulled themselves now almost alongside the third-place car in that inside row.
And I think a lot of the kudos has to be given to the 14 machine of Mark Dumont, really putting the pressure on the 19 of Atwood's back bumper and allowing the speed to continue to rush forward. And I think also starting to see a lot more movement that's starting to spook some drivers as the Leftwiches both have decided, let's get out of this mess. Let's allow these drivers to get aggressive up front. We're not even halfway through this duel race, so let's calm down before we have to make any aggressive pushes forward as our 16 drivers there they go. And it looks to be Bonomo trying to hold on for the 9, and he slams the outside wall again. And there's no caution thrown just yet, but more drivers having issues for themselves further on back, and that really scatters the field. And Steven Bonomo, major issues for himself, required damage for the 9, and there's the caution flag throw.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for the 9, who heavy collision with that outside wall. It was a great save, but unfortunately the outside wall was able to reach out there and grab him once it all was said and done. And that right side damage just too much here. So we'll get to see what happens. Here's a little bit of loose condition there for the 9. Going to try to hang on. Look, at this point, it's had it saved, but it's just death turned to the right and slams into the outside wall, really hurting the right side of the car.
Yeah, and it looked to be some inside the middle of 3 and 4, some netcode contact between the 9 and the 19 is what started Steven Bonomo going haywire, out of control for that moment. And like I said, I got into the wall and it just went wrong and awry from there for the 9. You hate to see that. I know Steven's got a lot of family and friends out there in chat wanting to see the 9 do well here tonight, but just wasn't the dual race the 9 was looking for. Required damage will be sent to pit road, most likely going to go a lap down, if not more, was some of the damage that was collected there. A few other drivers expected to hit pit road on top of that, but man, seeing this caution come out, it's another in the middle of the heat race. I think this is exactly what, if you are people in the stands wanting to see, action get a little bit more hairy and get more chaotic up front, where I think we're about to see it now after this caution.
I completely agree, Sam. Now everybody's kind of figured out, okay, this is what I got. Now this is what I have to do, because you got that. We're literally about to be at the halfway point here when they cross the line next time by, and they've learned what they've learned. Now it's time to execute with it, because we've seen the outside line was starting to gain, starting to do good things. And while all that happened, Gary Clune and Nicholas Atwood and Mark Dumont, all of them got the 5th, 6th, and 7th there respectively. So great job by them, because at one point they're all outside the top 10.
They certainly were, as we are coming up to 16 laps to go. We have been live broadcasting for a full hour. Usually we've already had a break by now. I think we're going to give ourselves a break here. When we come back, more racing action here tonight. Thank you so much for joining with us as we take ourselves a quick commercial break as you are watching the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Qualifying day for the Group 6 200 next week. Inside of just 16 laps to go. When we come back, it's the end of Duel number 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background, and we do have an update for you. If you would like to watch the stream as smoothly as you can, I know we've been having some internet issues here tonight, switch your quality over to 720p. That would be the best quality that you can watch, smoothest you can watch at the highest quality we can. If you go anything higher than that, sadly, we cannot promise that the stream is going to be as smooth. Sorry for the issues in kind of not predicting that this was going to happen, but thank you to those that have been patient with us as we are getting ready to finish out Duel number 2, the last race of the night. This will set the outside row for next week's race for the Group 6 200 for the official start of the season. It's been all Jonathan Jennings, Wilkerson, and Hunter Simpson as we are back to green flag action. That outside row really got rolling here, Zach, but will we see any more movement happen, as it looks like Jennings is willing to drop down low and bringing a friend with him?
That he is, bringing a friend with him right there. Christopher Simon, it looks like, is that 27 able to get right up to the bumper. And now we'll get to see what that's like, because now we've had the separation of Daniel Wilkerson and Hunter Simpson from that back bumper of 91. Will this outside line have something, being led by Nicholas Atwood?
Nicholas Atwood, again, slightly involved with that last incident with Bonomo. The 19 still wants to be the lead driver and hoping he's going to see Richard Leclerc help on that outside lane. 17 looking to be good as we hop on board and get a sense of what Daniel Wilkerson's feeling inside of this car. As the 78 trying his best to get closer, but Zach, it just seems like either you got 3 cars right on top of one another, or there's always a bubble between the second and third car line, or the fourth and third car line.
It really does seem to be that way right now. And if you're Wilkerson, you kind of like the positioning you're in right here. It's pretty safe. Nobody to your outside at the moment, as it looks like Clune in the 45 has jumped back up to the top side. You can see in his mirror up there that bluer car, as he's got that car stacked up right behind him. But you can even see, I mean, he's right behind the 27 of Christopher Simon, and he's not too close tucked up behind him. But look how long Jonathan Jennings was out of the picture for him. He could not see Jennings for really all of 3 and 4. That's just the sight you get here at Daytona. Now you get to see the 45 storming through with the run they have. Atwood pushing the 45 straight to the lead.
Gary Clune, Atwood, and the whole entire outside lane just muscled their way forward through the front stretch, and now going to be seeing a new leader here tonight, and it's Gary Clune in the 45. Atwood just making a monstrative move. The 19 and the 45 will drop down low, leaving the 17 to the outside lane, trying to find their spacing, but that 17 of Leclerc really side drafting, was hoping to pull back. The group wasn't able to, and now we're seeing other drivers the outside lane. New characters arising here with 12, soon to be 11 laps to go here tonight for heat number 2.
And this is huge right now for these drivers for sure. I mean, you look at Leclerc, who's up here in the mix. He started in the 16th position, folks. That would push him from 32nd all the way up here now to starting second or third car on the outside row. So great job by him, and he's not done yet. He's getting the help, and they're going to the lead as Gary Maydew giving the great push in that 63 machine.
We have not talked about Maydew at all. Also, the 10 making a move forward. That being Steve Gerber, who's haven't talked about either. These are drivers that have been staying patient for this push. And oh no, stuck in the middle. Going to be that 63 machine going backwards, and 3 wide racing. Zach, we've seen it already hurt the pack. 4 drivers are pulling away, and the side drafting is just hurting this pack that continues to lose time.
It just seems like when you get 3 wide, you lose so much ground. That front 4 has pulled the gap. But I will say this, as soon as they can get it single or figured out behind this group, they're going to have a good head of steam if they can get it figured out. They just can't let them get too far out there, Sam.
10 laps to go, and it's all going to be Richard Leclerc, Gary Clune, and Nicholas Atwood, your top 3. Jonathan Jennings is there, but he's falling back to help out the 63 of Gary Maydew. And also, will we see anyone else try to find some extra pace, as they're still stuck 2 by 2 and have lost so much ground? I mean, Zach, this pack that's 2 by 2, they're now over 2 seconds back from the leader.
That is wild to say, Sam. Luckily for them, they have enough cars strung right in front of them that the draft is still strong enough to keep them there. But they're going to be having to get this figured out, because if you don't start to get going here in a little bit, you're not going to have enough time to have fun to mess with these leaders up here. And right now, it looks like Jennings in the 91, along with the 63 of Maydew, they're coming back through here with a head of steam. It looks like Clune's going to go up to block that run in the 45. This heat here is starting to heat up.
Simon's going to drop down low, try to help and make the inside row have 3 drivers in line, but the power on the outside just there. Gary Clune, as well as Jonathan Jennings, able to get in line. Seeing that 63 also finding some extra power. And now a 7-horse race up front, soon to be growing to more, because that second pack is closing in ever since this group went side by side.
That they are. That second pack is going to definitely like what they're seeing up front here. But right now, it looks like a lot of people starting to explore up to the outside line. And this is going to make things definitely a lot more awkward, because right now this first pack's getting slowed down by all the side drafting going on, all the lane changing. And here comes the second pack being led by Wilkerson. But now they're side by side once again. So it's again continuously runs just being stopped.
Duck and dive, ditch a driver that's in front of you, and that's going to happen to Gary Clune. And will to pack up and work with. Seems like Atwood not wanting to lose drivers and continues to be the one that just falls behind. Assists drivers to get back into this lead pack. And now what once was just 7 cars, make it a full group. 15 drivers in this pack, and all still with a chance to win here tonight. 7 laps to go. And this is just to see who's going to be on the outside row to start 4th for next week's race.
That it is. This is good, wild stuff. Nicholas Atwood already locked into that second place position for the front row after qualifying second in an earlier qualifying session. Who wants to start behind him, though, is going to be the question here. Is Jennings still leading the way up front? Maydew, though, after getting stuck in the middle there for a while, I thought it was all going to go awry. He's now holding on to the second position as Hunter Simpson's found his way back up the field.
Oh, they are aggressively pushing in the back. This is the 14 of Dumont, just shoving Chris Leftwich. And Leftwich, I thought, was going to lose it off the exit of 4. Keeps it together. They're still pushing and shoving, and almost a wreck there in front of Simon. Oh, my goodness, Zach. It is outrageous, some of these passes and as well bumps that we're seeing right now. Drivers are willing to send it all with 6 laps to go. I get that there's urgency, but you got to make sure you got a cord the other day. And oh, no, the contact, the wreck, the big one on the back stretch.
And I didn't want to say I felt that was coming, but the 14 of Mark Dumont there was just giving some pretty big bumps there. And I mean, he slammed the back of Richard Leclerc there and really never really got off of him. So that was just super unfortunate for Leclerc, as he was just jumping up to the outside line trying to get in front of that 14. And unfortunately, the 14 just a little too aggressive with the bumps in the center of the corner when catching. That's going to send around. And so the 27 involved with that. Looks like Eddie Rivers also involved. So multiple cars here catching some damage here late in heat race number 2.
Simon heavily involved in that 27. Richard Leclerc required damage, had to be towed to pit road, but really a lot of this started even off the exit of turn 4, and then it just continued to carry forward. But watch this run for the 14. Dumont just carries the run, and usually you don't want to push someone in the corner, but continues to keep the pressure, bad bump, and there goes the rest of the field.
Got to give credit to Leclerc there, as so the 15 comes in there and gets pretty hard hit to that right rear for the 17, but Leclerc did a good job to hold on to really the first 2 hits. It was really that third hit that really took him out for the count. Is unfortunate to see, but that is Daytona for you folks there. You can get aggressive, and sometimes a little too much aggression leads to an incident such as that one.
It certainly does, as the field waits for the lights to click off to give us the 1 to go indicator. Do want to say thank you to everyone that's watching here tonight. Again, Free Fast Broadcasting, so happy to be partnering up with the Doghouse Cup Series and be able to give you the coverage of this league on Thursday nights. Officially, the season starts next week, February 8th. They'll take the week after that off, as Valentine's Day is that week, but then we'll be right back to racing action. The season really feels like it's at full go starting February 22nd, as they'll be heading to Iowa after their week break. But thank you again for joining with us. We will be your home for this season of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Today's just qualifying day for the first race of the season, and we're happy to give you all the coverage. Again, my name is Sam Dyer. With me up the booth is Zach Hall, running productions. In the background is Robert Moyer Jr. And we're happy here at the family of Freaky Fast Broadcasting to have a new league to cover, and also got to be back to giving Next Gen Cup Series racing. It's been a while, Zach, since we've been able to cover a Next Gen Series. It's been a lot of trucks, Xfinity, Gen 4, and here we are now with the Next Gen.
It's great to have the variety back in for sure, Sam. And, you know, the pinnacle of the NASCAR Cup Series here with the Next Gen car. Cool to see that also be a factor. Not only that, but also with the factor of having the setup, you know, the open setup side of things. I think that's just going to add a whole new portal into this league. And I cannot wait to kind of nerd out here in front of the folks all throughout the season and get to tell them what these drivers are doing week in and week out to try to find that speed. You know, here at Daytona, there's things you can do. You can try to get that car as low first off to the ground as possible to get that spoiler out of the air. You want to keep these cars low to the ground and at least and as most aero efficient as possible, but also a good place you can find a lot of time here not only is in your tire pressure package. This place here, you can play with tire pressures for hours trying to find the perfect combination for speed and drag, and you probably won't ever find the perfect exact one. I bet you each one of these drivers out here with differing tire pressures when it comes from team to team.
I think that might be another reason why we're seeing kind of the similar drivers being up front. I mean, we've seen the dominance, so we saw it a lot last race, seeing the drivers that were just dominating with Gardner and Kevin Thompson. But tonight, seen in Duel race number 2, a lot of Jonathan Jennings. This 91 has been very quick up front, same for the 5 of Hunter Simpson. And they're hoping to continue to stay up front. But those aggressive drivers that we just saw bring out our most recent yellow, they seem to be still here. And Zach, this is one of those fun restarts because this will be an in the regulation green, white, checkered. So if we, on this restart, it's going to be 2 laps to go. If we get the 1 to go, which is a white flag indicator at the end of this first lap, we will stay official, no wrecks, we'll bring out a yellow, and we will continue to see who crosses the line first to win tonight's dual race number 2. But if we get a yellow flag on this first lap before we get the white flag, then we will go into overtime where we have just 1 overtime attempt. And we've already seen aggressive pushes, Zach, and I don't think we're done just yet with some of the characters that we're seeing up front that are still racing here.
Oh, no doubt. They are about to go for it, folks. Buckle up. Get ready, grab your drinks, because it's about to be a little bit of a bumpy ride here for, I think, a few of these guys. They know what's on the line. They know that this is the time to go grab positions for the qualifying of their race next week. And I think a lot of people are just going to go risk it because they know they have nothing to lose here rather than starting bad next week. So let's see what they can produce. And, you know, I think they're going to get back to the white flag. I'd like to think that, but we very well could need some overtime action.
Hey, who knows? Let's add a little bit of drama, a little bit of flair. These drivers don't have a fast repair to work with, so if you get wrecked, get involved with a massive collision, your race is most likely done. But hey, you never know what fun we can see here on this restart as we get ourselves prepared for the final race of this duel. Huge shout out to Shoney's for being a great restaurant and a great sponsor to the Doghouse Racing League, and as well to Group 6 for being a part of this season, and Fanatics for being an affiliate partner with the Doghouse Racing League. Into the restart zone and inside the regulation, green, white, checkered. We're green. Jonathan Jennings, great launch for himself. He's got help for Hunter Simpson right behind him, and already a little bit of shimmying, pushing, and getting drivers out of the way as they scatter down into turn number 1.
That they are scattering right now, trying to find the best place, the best run, the situation that they want to be in when we get to that white flag. You know, that's the time when you got to make stuff happen. It looks like Maydew is going to be the first one to jump out in the 63 machine. I believe that's Chris Leftwich there, sorry folks, as he's being led out, and he's got Mark Dumont in that 14, or behind the 5 there with the 45 Gary Clune and the 19 and Nicholas Atwood. Those two have been very, very quick here tonight. We could see this outside line form something, but it's going to be 3 cars versus 3.
Do you work together or do you find a different alliance here late? They're keeping it together. Leftwich will find an opening down into 3rd place, and this will be an official race. It's all about who crosses the line. White flag is out. Here we go, Zach. This is it. It's Jonathan Jennings up front with Hunter Simpson behind. Will anyone have a chance to catch up to them?
That is going to be the question here, Sam. Can they formulate something behind Will they have the run and will they have the time? As right now it's going to go 3 wide from the second row on back, and every single car out here trying to find the speed, but I think the 3 in front are going to be the ones that's going to fight it out.
As also going to be seeing Gary Clune in 4th place, starting to build up a run. It's the 45 up to the outside. It's going to be Chris Leftwich. Doesn't really have the momentum or the spacing. Hunter Simpson ducks high just for a quick moment, but no one's going to be close enough. Give it to last season's champ, Jonathan Jennings, back in the victory lane for dual race number 2.
Great work there from Hunter Simpson, just to stick to the bumper of the 91, get those two in some great qualifying spots, but it's Chris Leftwich who brings it home in 3rd, Sam. What an excellent job by him there. That was a great heat race.
It was an incredible race to watch, to be a part of, and that will be the conclusion of these drivers' qualifying day. Got to see qualifying officially go down, where we had Nicholas Atwood come out with 2nd place, but pole position goes to Adam Gardner. Congratulations to those 2 drivers. Then from dual race number 1, Raymond in the 38 machine with aggressive driving, going to find himself getting the 2nd place award, which was behind Gardner. So that will be going to be the first driver in row number 2. And for dual race number 2, Jonathan Jennings going to be the first driver on the outside for row 2. Congratulations to that 91 machine. We're going to step away for a quick moment, though. When we come back, we'll be talking to our top front row and hopefully talk to Jonathan Jennings in just a few moments to get their thoughts on getting prepared for next week's race. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the qualifying day of the Group 6 200. As the drivers get prepared for next week's race, we head down to talk to some of the drivers. Had some amazing days here. We're going to start things off with our pole winner and going to be our Duel 1 winner, Adam Gardner. Adam, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on taking the pole and the Duel 1 win. Man, how are you feeling after a performance like you had here tonight?
I gotta tell you, I did not expect this. Really good night tonight overall. And you know, it's kind of funny because I got on tonight and I was just in a really good mood. I had a lot of good things going on my way today, and yeah, I'll take that. I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely got to be happy after that, Adam. So congrats on pole and that dual win. That was definitely excellent to see. But how do you feel like this sets you up for heading into next week for the season opening race? Because, man, it looks fast out there for the 45.
Looking forward to it, actually. Took last season off kind of in a part-time mode just to kind of refresh and rejuvenate myself a little bit. And take a little bit of a break. And then throughout the season, I ended up talking with some friends. And I raced with them in a couple other leagues too. And we decided we'd try to team up this season, see how it goes. So first time teaming up with the guys over at Twisted Axle. So Kevin was a great pusher in my duel. Worked really good together. Kind of, it sucks that Andrew got taken out in the wreck that he got collected in. But well, it was fun working with the guys. And enjoyed it, you know.
I mean, Adam, it was a great performance for yourself. What are some things this season that you're hoping to bring for yourself? Like, are there certain tracks that you're feeling more proficient in, or are you just excited for the whole season?
Honestly, I'm kind of excited for the whole season. like I said, I took last season off because I really wasn't, honestly, just wasn't feeling the next gen car. But I played around with it a little bit and decided, give it another shot. Like I said, see how it goes. And it's hard to say I'm not enjoying myself right now, but looking forward to it. It should be a fun one overall. It's kind of hard not to have hopes for winning next week at Daytona, just because I wasn't expecting the pole. I wasn't expecting to win in the duel by far either way. And it worked out good. Like I said, Kevin, he stayed dedicated to my back bumper, and we decided to try a little something there, and kind of worked out for us. I would have liked to have seen it run clean to the line at the end there with everybody making it and see how it would have shaken out, but at the same time, it's hard to be disappointed in my own finish at the end. But it was a lot of fun, and definitely looking forward to the season, really, overall in general.
And we're excited for it too, Adam. Again, congratulations on getting the pole and the dual win. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Well, thank you guys for bringing the broadcast out there for everyone to watch. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. The guys over at Group 6 for going ahead and bringing the race to us. And over there at Shoney's, they've been with Daniel now for a few seasons and real good supporters of the league, so you got to appreciate that. I want to shout out my new personal sponsor, Bay State Limousine out of Massachusetts. Really good guys over there with really nice cars and good deals for anybody. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, general New England area. Give them a call and they'll take care of you for anything you need. The guys over at Twisted Axle for all the work together. The guys out here tonight for doing their part, and everybody that watches. Hopefully it was a good show, and do it to have fun and put on a good show. And I'm glad I'm on TV and getting TV time tonight for the right reasons.
And we're happy to be giving you the call. That will be, again, your dual winner and the driver starting on the front row with the pole, Adam Gardner. Congratulations, Adam. Enjoy this week, and good luck next week for the official start of the season.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, from Victory Lane for duels and for the pole winner, we'll head down to our other front row starter. We have Nick Atwood with us. Nick, you come away with second after your pole, going for the pole. So close from grabbing it. Then you find yourself trying to go for the win there late into duel number 2. How are you feeling after tonight, and what have you learned to set up for next week?
Very confident in the sets that we've built over the last couple of weeks getting ready for this. I feel like we definitely have the team to beat, especially all of the Twisted Axle. Once we get enough of us in the same line, I think we'll be a big problem for some people.
It definitely does seem to be that way. Your team's looking very strong after these duels here, Nick. But anything you can take away from tonight that maybe you learned that could help improve for next week?
I think the biggest thing will be track position. I think being up front will be the biggest help. If you can stay away from people and just all the chaos that Daytona may bring, I think that track position will be the biggest help, especially if we go green with pit stops.
Well, Nick, last season you finished 12th in points. What is the confidence level, and what are your goals this season for 2024?
Pretty confident in what this whole season will bring. I actually get a full season under my belt this time. I'm at least looking to crack a top 5 if I'm able to in points at the end of the year. Definitely notch off a few wins if I'm able to.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Nick. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I'd like to thank Beast Mode Performance for allowing me to be a part of their team. Kenny Coppola for always building those fast sets over at Team Watson. All my team members from Twisted Axle, and my fiance for letting me do this.
Well, that will be the 19 machine of Nicholas Atwood. Going to be starting the front row next week for the Group 6 200. Congratulations, Nick, on qualifying second, and good luck next week.
Thank y'all. Can't wait to see you.
Cannot wait for it either. That will be your second place starter for next week's Group 6 200. Now we head down to talk to the driver that won dual race number 2 and last season's champion, Jonathan Jennings. Jonathan, we know based off the stats, based off your skill, you're obviously the favorite to watch out for. But man, how are you feeling after your performance today? Officially, you qualified 4th, then you're placed with winning the Duel here in Duel number 2. What are your thoughts after a great performance like you had here tonight?
Well, better than coming into it. Daytona's not normally good to me, so this is a win for me. So
Definitely a huge win for you there, Jonathan, after winning the Clash last week. Coming here, winning the Duel. You think you can make it the trifecta heading into next week at the big race at Daytona?
I'm not getting my hopes up, man. This place does not like me at all, so I'll take this, and if I do horrible in the race, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we know you're going to be strong at other courses. You coming off of your championship last season. What is the pressure that you're feeling coming into this season?
I don't really feel no pressure. It's just getting used to race. There's a bunch of new guys in here, and getting used to running around them and expecting their driving and getting used to running around them. And I'm just trying to help some guys out, try to help them get better with little things here and there, and that's really more enjoyable to me.
Oh, we love to see that community factor come out. Jonathan, congratulations once again on winning your Duel and starting 4th next week. Good luck, and before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
You guys for the broadcast, and Daniel and all the admins for putting stuff together, and the series sponsors, Johnny, Group Fanatics, and I think it's Simpson Design Shop.
Well, that will be the 91 machine of Jonathan Jennings. Congratulations on your finish and run here tonight, Jonathan, and good luck on trying to get a good finish next week for the start of the season.
All right, man. Thank you.
Well, that's going to be your Duel 2 winner of Jonathan Jennings, as well as going to be talking. We got to talk with our start in front row, as those drivers, they're excited for it. Got to start in the best position possible to start off next week at the Group 6 200. Well, we are just a few weeks away from a brand new season for the ISRC Truck Series on Monday night. February 12th is sneaking up on us very quickly. Crazy to think we're in February already, but I cannot wait for Season 6 to begin. We've been covering that series since their inception, and it's a great group of guys that are doing recruitment races right now. A lot of new faces that we're expected to see on Monday night, and a few returning faces we haven't seen. Tuesday nights, we are open for booking. So if you are looking to be having your league broadcasted by us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, hit us up on our social medias on Twitter/X or on Facebook at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and get in communication if you'd like to have your Tuesday night league covered by us. Wednesday night, closing in very closely to the end of the regular season. Don't want to miss out. Auto Club's the next destination for Wednesday night for the WSSR. And then Thursday here at the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, we start a brand new season for a brand new series for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Cannot wait for it. It's the Group 6 200 at Daytona next week. Zach, crazy to think we're about to be to a full schedule again of 3 different series, but what a night of qualifying day here for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series drivers. I believe Zach might have had his mic still muted. We got you. He's back. All right.
Wrong button there. Definitely a exciting night of racing, man. I tell you, it was fun to see just the differences between the 2 different heats there, and see really how you had some teammates split up from each other while you had teammates throughout the other heats. And I think once we get them all lined up out there, man, it's going to be quite the show, because I don't know if we found the really dominant line. We got to see points at night where the outside was very good, points where the bottom was very good. So heading into next Thursday, I'm thoroughly excited to see who can bring improvements not only to the racetrack, but what kind of racing we get and what kind of product we get once it's all said and done. Because I can tell you what, when there's 36 cars out there, it's going to be a lot different than just having 19.
Yeah, having a lot more drivers out there on track, a lot more mistakes potentially going to be growing, and drivers hoping for the best finish they can to start the season off right. Cannot wait for it. That will be next week for the Group 6 200 Daytona to start the season of 2024 for the Shoney Doghouse Cup Series presented by Group 6. Thank you so much for joining with us here this evening. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. Next week, a start of a brand new season. But if you want to see more racing action before then, Wednesday night, it's the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, the Gen 4 cars. Head to Auto Club with 3 races left in the regular season. Points matter. Who's going to get it done? Cannot wait, as Wednesday will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.